guys, Victor here with a brand new video, and this is the day after UFC 257, and boy oh boy, what a card. Obviously, there were a lot of good fights on the main card. The prelims were a little bit in there, but obviously, overall, it was a great night of fights. The UFC and Dana White, apparently, that UFC 257 card was basically number 2 and number 3 when it comes to pay-per-views all times for the history of the company itself. So obviously there was a lot of success with UFC 257, even though Conor McGregor lost. But I'm not here to talk about McGregor versus Poirier 2. I'm here to talk about the co-main event. Obviously, Iron Michael Chandler versus Dan the Hangman Hooker. America versus New Zealand. Two lightweights going at it. Obviously, Michael Chandler is a very big individual for the lightweight division. He's a short and stalkier fighter, but then you've got the tall and lankier fighter in Dan Hooker. That kind of gives him the advantage. He's obviously taller. He's got the reach advantage, and he's got the unpredictability in his favor as well. Obviously, he's a kickboxer. He works for City Kickboxing in New Zealand with the champion Israel Adesanya. So obviously, he's got a whole arsenal of leg kicks that he can be able to work. But he barely used a lot of it. During the beginning of the round, Chandler took the initiative right off the bat. He was literally the tiger stalking and chasing the gazelle the majority of the whole entire fight. He was walking Dan Hooker down, and Dan Hooker, all he was doing during the whole entire fight, he was circling around the octagon and basically trying to find ways to strike Michael Chandler. The only shots that Dan Hooker hit were those calf kicks and the leg kicks. Those were pretty much it. Two or three of them pretty much hurt Michael Chandler, but Michael Chandler was still pushing no matter what. And Chandler did get a couple body shots in there, trying to find his range, he was trying to size up Dan Hooker during the majority of the fight. Obviously, since both these guys are fighting for the same time, both these guys have basically seen each other for the first time this week in Abu Dhabi. They had never seen each other before. Obviously, Mike Chandler being a 3-time lightweight champion over in Bellator. He's beaten guys such as Eddie Alvarez, such as Benson Henderson twice. He knocked him out during their second fight. He's beaten Derek Campos, Brendan Gertz, Patricky Pitbull, the whole nine. He's beaten all those guys. He also beat Brent Primus, who is a fantastic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and a really well-rounded 155-pounder over in Bellator. So he's beaten them all. He's basically clean house while he was at Bellator. He wanted more money. Scott Coker and company didn't agree to it because he had just got knocked out by Patricio Pitbull. And, both those parties didn't agree with the numbers and with the prices. He left, and now he's in the UFC. And going back to the fight, he was stalking Dan Hooker down. He got a couple of good right crosses into the midsection of Dan Hooker while he was trying to stalk him down, and he just kept on going, and Hooker just kept on he kept on backing up. He kept on circling the whole entire time. He never went forward during the duration of the fight. He never moved forward. He never took initiative, and I guess he was basically hesitant because of the takedowns. He was probably trying to time a good knee in case Chandler wanted to go in for a takedown, but he never saw it. He never saw it coming because it never came. Chandler is one of the most heaviest hitters in the history of the 155-pound division in all of mixed martial arts. Not just the UFC, not just Bellator, not just ONE or PFL, all of mixed martial arts. He's one of the most powerful 155-pounders out there in the whole entire world, and he put it on full display. Once he found the target for Dan Hooker, he kept on hitting him with the 1-2. And the 1-2, and another 1-2, and his right hand kept on finding the target until he clipped him with a nice, powerful right hand that dropped Dan Hooker. And as soon as Dan Hooker was on that floor, Mike Chandler did not let up. He never let Dan Hooker regain his composure. He never let Dan Hooker recover, and he never let him get back up. And that's where the fight ended. He ended it with some beautiful ground and pound. It only took one right hand that landed flush on Dan Hooker to put him down. The last guy to take down Dan Hooker via TKO or KO itself was Edson Barbosa, and that wasn't via a hook to the face that knocked him down. It was via body shots, round kicks to the rib cage, and I believe one of his ribs actually did break during that fight. But Edson Barboza found a lot of good advantages, hitting him with a roundhouse kick to the not to the midsection, but to the rib cage, to the side of his body, to the obliques, that whole entire area. He kept on hitting it and hitting it and hitting it until Dan Hooker's body collapsed. But Mike Chandler never even threw a leg kick. It was just the 1-2s, and the 3-4s that put Dan Hooker to sleep. And obviously, we don't know the future of Dan Hooker right now, because when he did leave that octagon, he decided to throw his gloves in the cage, leave him in there. That usually signifies that someone is going to retire, that fighter is going to retire, is never going to come back ever again. But obviously, I believe it was because of frustration. Dan Hooker's been away from his family for an 8-week fight camp, and he's barely been able to see his wife, barely been able to see his daughter, and now he's been in Abu Dhabi for about the last 2 weeks, and he won't be able to get back to New Zealand until February 21st because of the tough restrictions they have in that country. So not only did he have an 8-week fight camp, not only did he come to Abu Dhabi for 2 weeks, but he got knocked out in the first round. And not only did he get knocked out, he won't be able to see his family till the end of February, probably early March. So he's going to have to stay in Abu Dhabi for an extra month. I'd be mad too if I were Dan Hooker. But he didn't utilize his game plan. He was too scared of the takedown attempts that Michael Chandler was possibly going to put on. But it never came. I guess he was just being too patient. He's being too hesitant to actually really throw something powerful. Sure, the leg kicks did come through maybe 2 or 3 times, but he needed to throw some combinations, and he needed to throw some jabs, maybe telegraph some of his punches, Definitely work the feints, but he didn't work any of that. Just Mike Chandler was stalking him down like he was a lion chasing down the gazelle for the whole entire majority of that matchup. And once his right hand hit the target, it was good night, Eileen. He's knocked out so many people. He has 17 finishes, now 18 in his career. It's absolutely insane. And most of those have been knockouts by TKO. Michael Chandler, like I said, he's one of the most powerful individuals out there. Now, if you're going to ask me what's next for both of these men, obviously I believe that Michael Chandler, he should either fight Justin Gaethje next or fight Poirier for the vacated lightweight championship of the world. We all think that Khabib's going to come back. Some of us don't. I believe he's not. He says he's done. He texted Dana. He talked to him, basically telling them, Dana, let's be real here. These guys aren't on my level. These guys are never going to beat me. They're never going to last a round with me. And that's pretty much the truth. So Khabib wanted to see something that would interest him. Khabib wanted to see something that would excite him. He didn't see any of that tonight. I don't blame him. He beat Dustin in 2 rounds. He beat Gaethje in 2 rounds. He beat McGregor in 4 rounds. And these were all dominant performances. So obviously Khabib ain't going to be coming back anytime soon. I think his career is completely done, as it should be. He's accomplished everything in the whole entire sport. He's one of the richest MMA fighters in the world right now, and one of the most powerful men in the Middle East, and one of the most powerful men in Russia. So obviously, Chandler should fight Gaethje or Dustin Poirier next for the title. And then you got Dan Hooker. I believe he should either fight Conor McGregor or Tony Ferguson next. Those are just the fights that make a whole lot of sense. Obviously, Hooker's coming off of 2 losses. Tony Ferguson's coming off of 2 losses himself. Conor McGregor, he's coming off of a loss. So why not pair those guys together? Obviously, you got that whole little triangle. Who should Hooker fight next? Either Conor or either Tony. I believe the fight with Conor would make a whole lot more sense for Hooker, because both those men like to stand and bang. They barely like to use for jiu-jitsu or wrestling because it takes up energy. And both guys just like to stand and bang, get in the wars. So obviously that's basically a matchup in heaven right there. And then you got Michael Chandler. And with a knockout like that coming from a different organization, obviously the last couple of guys to go to Bellator, to the UFC as champions, Ben Askren, he was 1-2. You've got Will Brooks. He barely did any good at all. He was bounced out pretty fast. And Eddie Alvarez, Poirier bounced him out of the UFC himself. So obviously, those are the two fights that I would give Iron Mike Chandler. Either fight Justin Gaethje or Poirier, but it's more likely going to be Poirier if Khabib decides to hang up his gloves for good. And then for Hangman Hooker, I'm gonna feed him to McGregor. I think McGregor fight would be great, especially if McGregor wants to fight again in the lightweight division. If Nate Diaz doesn't come back and fight him, then obviously take that Hangman fight and see who wins there, and try to gain some composure and try to gain a little bit more of a of a good push to get back in there in that top 5 of the UFC lightweight ranking. So obviously those are just my thoughts and some of the things I was just thinking because of this fight. Chandler looked amazing. He got the quick knockout. He barely got hurt. Hooker's got to go back to the drawing board if he's still going to continue to fight and see what he really wants next. There's still a lot of matchups to be made in this lightweight division. And like I said, there's no shame in losing to Mike Chandler, especially if he came from a different organization, especially if he was unranked. He's faced some of the best in Bellator, and Bellator is the second best MMA promotion in the whole entire world. There are some great fighters that have never gone to the UFC but started out in Bellator and who are ranked in the top 5 in the world. Not just promotions singularly, in the world. Obviously, Michael Chandler lost to Patricio Pitbull, who's a top 5 fighter in the world. So there's no shame in losing to Mike Chandler, who's lost to one of the best fighters in the whole entire world, and Patricio Pitbull. And I would love to see one of the Pitbull brothers, especially Patricio, go to the UFC and see how he does, because he's one of the best in the world, like I just said. But like I said, there's no shame in losing to Mike Chandler. Hangman Dan Hooker is going to be back, and he's definitely going to make some pretty big impacts. He's just got to go back to the drawing board and see what he's going to do. So appreciate you guys for watching this video. I'm going to put out more content out there, especially when it comes to UFC 257, because there were a lot of people that did impress me last night, and a lot of people that impressed everyone last night. So you guys continue to stay safe. I'll be posting tomorrow, and stay blessed.